GameOn presents.
Everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
All right, I'm here with Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. I was at your panel yesterday. You guys have so many awesome stories and crazy things that have happened to you. I think you're telling one about Andre the Giant, about he has some gas.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, it's like I put the story in my book, and people come up that have read the book, and they said they all say the same thing. Love the story about Andre. I mean, basically, we take this long trip to Japan. It's 14 hours, and Andre, even sitting in a first class seat, he's cramped, and a guy that size, just the last thing he wants to be is cramped or in any way. So we get to Japan, we check into the hotel, and we're going to go eat. So we get on the elevator, and as the elevator goes down, each time the door opens, more people get on. Now, what you and I would consider a full elevator, not in Japan. I mean, Japan is, the whole country is the size of the state of California. The population of Japan is half that of the United States, and the land mass that is inhabitable is about a fourth of the state of California, so they really have to stack them up there. We understand that, but the Giant doesn't. So they pack all these people on, and he reaches over and taps me, and I look up at him, and he winks. So I'm like, okay, something's going to happen here. Well, there's no nice way to say this. All of a sudden, the Giant lets the loudest, longest flow of gas that you've ever heard in your life. And I mean, I remember I just stood there staring forward like everybody else, trying to keep from just laughing out loud. But I kept thinking, when's it going to end? And all I could picture was the guy standing directly behind him, that poor soul. But I'm going to tell you something. When the doors opened on that elevator, everybody ran off, and all you could hear was Andre going, oh, oh, oh. I'll never forget it as long as I live.
Oh, that's awesome. And you've managed a number of wrestlers in your time, and now your son, Ted DiBiase, is currently wrestling in the WWE. And what kind of wisdom do you pass on to the next generation of wrestlers?
Well, again, wisdom is learn how to wrestle. I mean, what we call learn how to work. The art of pro wrestling is really improv. It's learning how to go out and tell a story in that ring, and the story is in the context of a wrestling match. And there's like in a movie, there's the good guys and the bad guys, and you try to tell that story where at some point in that match, the bad guy, underhandedly does something to take advantage of the good guy and beats him down. And it's the story of that guy trying to fight out from underneath and overcome. And it's the ability to tell that story. And so that's what I encourage guys to do. A lot of young guys today, they get in wrestling and they think that wrestling is about going out there and showing people that they can do all these fancy moves. The fancy moves don't mean anything unless they mean something in the context of the story you're telling. Otherwise, it's just a flying circus.
Right.
So that's basically what the young people today need to know is that, you can go out that ring and you can do all kinds of stuff and bounce off the ropes and do flips off the top and land on your feet and everything else, but unless that's being done in the context of a story that you can make believable, it means nothing. So it's got to mean something. I can go in the ring with a guy, and the real art is to get the most out of doing the least. In other words, I could spend 10 minutes building up to a point in a match where I'll give you an example. I wrestle a guy, and we get locked up in the ropes. The referee says break. Everybody knows I'm the bad guy. And so very slowly I back out, right? And the referee's waiting, and the people waiting for me to throw a cheap shot, and I don't, okay? And even the guy I'm wrestling. So we lock up, and we go around again. And eventually we get locked up in those ropes again or in the corner, and the referee comes in and says break again. And one more time, I back out. I put my hands in the air, and I said, nothing, no, And so I do that 3 or 4 times. So it's like, oh my gosh, DiBiase's wrestling clean here. Well, about 10 minutes into this match, when we end up back in those ropes after we've been wrestling totally clean, the referee says break, and I go like this, and he walks through, and as he gets through and his back is turned to me, I threw one punch. And I'm going to tell you what. That one punch will make the people want to come in the ring. You no good, so-and-so. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's making something, it's making those bumps mean something. Right. That's the point. So anyway.
And you guys, the panel yesterday, you guys are amazing storytellers, like just verbally as well, without wrestling.
Well, I mean, that's what it is.
So good.
That's what it is. It's storytelling, and on unfortunately, it's like I wrestling is kind of like, I always call it the black sheep of the entertainment industry. It's like I don't think that like the movie industry has ever given us the credit, but I mean, I'm telling you, the WWE is now worldwide. International, we have the longest running episodic show on television. The WWE produces 12 pay-per-views a year and 4 or 5 hours of television a week. It's unbelievable. And they just keep going. WrestleMania just keeps getting bigger. I mean, the whole WrestleMania experience, it equals the Super Bowl. Matter of fact, we put more people in a stadium than they can put in the Super Bowl. And we have the flyby, we got the jets flying over, the fireworks going off, I mean, the whole 9 yards, and it's just like the Super Bowl, it's a week-long adventure now, so it's unbelievable how big it's gotten, and I'm just proud to say that I could be a part of getting our industry to where it is today.
And you're working with Heart of David Ministries. I was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Heart of David Ministries is me. I mean, I started Heart of David Ministry. And basically, it's a ministry of evangelism, and I'm a Christian and have been since 1992. I wrote a book about my life and my coming back to God, and I go all over the United States and Canada, and into foreign countries as well, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. I challenge men all the time. I live in a country, and I would have to include Canada, North America, where as time goes by, it seems like more and more churches are dying out. But as you look at the state of things in our countries, you see that morality means less and less, and there's more. They allow for more nudity, they allow for more vulgarity, they allow for all these things, but they won't allow God in school. And, they're getting what they asked for. And that's what I tell people. There was a time in the United States anyway when strong men built strong churches, and those strong churches built a strong nation. We were, as our pledge once said, one nation under God. But I can't say that today. There are a lot of Christians in the United States, but it's like we're not the majority anymore. My story is really simple, because I chased after all those things. It's like I'm here at this Comic-Con, the Expo, because I was an entertainer, and this is a chance for me to interact with the fans. And yeah, I'm making some extra money here because I'm not really the $1 million man. But the biggest joy for me is to be able to interact with these fans for 3 days and hear their stories and hear why they came to wrestling and why they liked wrestling or why they don't like it. And but I do that really to further the cause. That the major cause in my life is to further the gospel. It's just that's who I am today. I tell guys very simply this. Been there, done that, got that T-shirt, wore it out. I chased after fame. I chased after having a nice car and a big house and all that stuff, and I found it to be empty. Oh, yeah, it'll excite you for a little while, but there's no fulfillment in it. And so many of my colleagues, unfortunately, guys that have succumbed to drug and alcohol abuse, and, they're either dead or they've lost everything, including their families. Some of those guys used to laugh at me. I don't live in a great big fancy house anymore, and I don't have a lot of the stuff anymore. But I have a marriage that's endured 30 years. I have 3 children that I love and who love and respect me immensely. And you can't put a price tag on that. And that's what life is really all about. And so that's why I am who I am. And Heart of David is really, that's just it. If you read about David in the Bible, God said of David, he's a man after my own heart. Now, David was a man just like any other man. And even though he killed Goliath, later he had an affair with Bathsheba and had her husband killed in battle. That same David, was just a man and subject to the same things that all men are, and he fell. But when he was confronted with it, he repented immediately. He didn't cast blame or make excuses for his failures. He took responsibility for what he'd done, asked for forgiveness, and carried on. And God said he's a man after my own heart. So when I started Heart of David, basically that was my prayer, God, that I could be that man, a man after your own heart, and that's what I try to do. So I didn't mean to preach a sermon, but you asked me. That's right. It is Sunday morning.
It's all about the game, and how you play it. All about control, if you can take it.
Do you think that we could play another game? Maybe I could win this time.
You're listening to Game On with Jeff Johnson on GameOnTrain.com.